And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie is one of the most unique mystery novels of all time. You find out who the murderer is only in the last words of the book, literally in the last words of the book. I read this novel 28 years ago, but I still remembered this unique ending. So usually I read Agatha Christie's book every 10-15 years. In the meantime, I forget the plot, so the excitement is the same. But with this book, you read it once, you can never forget it. So recently, I bought this book as a gift for my girlfriend. She had a long flight, so I thought I would give it to her to read it during her flight. But then I felt jealous, so I downloaded it on my Kindle and I reread it. And I was as excited as I was in the first time, but also this time I saw way more insights. So this book also has very, very interesting moral insights on the nature of evil. So here is the story of the book without any major spoiler. 10 people are summoned to a small island with a lone house. They get invitations by a mysterious guest. Supposedly some of them are going to meet some mutual friends. Others supposedly go there for work. Others supposedly are invited to a high society party. So 10 people who don't know each other find themselves in this island, and they enter the house, they start meeting each other, and then there is a disc playing in the gramophone, but instead of music, there's an ominous voice that tells them, you are all 10 of you are guilty by act or by omission for the death of someone. You have caused someone to die, and you have all escaped the law, but you have not escaped the judgment, is basically what the voice is telling them. So it goes to one by one. You, Mr. Smith, for example, in 1932, through this act, you caused this death. You, Dr. X, by this omission, you caused the death of this patient, for example. So it becomes clear that there's somewhere, we don't figure out yet who that person is, who that mystery voice is, who knows everything about the sins, the grave sins that these people have committed. And soon, one by one of them starts dying. And it becomes clear, soon it becomes clear that they're actually murdered. So here they are in this island, dying one by one. And the deaths follow actually the lines from a children's rhyme, 10 Little Soldiers. And the last line is, and then there were none. Now the original title was 10 Little, insert the racial slur, the N-word. And obviously, for obvious reasons, this title was already back then very offensive, so then it was changed to 10 Little Indians, and then there were none. Now, I understand why the title changed, but the original title with Agatha Christie's, we can understand here, she had some oriental, a bit racist tendencies. So the original title, the idea is, I am transferring you to this other faraway place, although the island is off the shore of somewhere in the south of England, I think. But the idea is that I'm taking you to this other place where morality and life as you know it is suspended. So even the title contributed to the ominous atmosphere. Again, I totally get why they had to change it. I don't really like the new title because it gives a spoiler already from the title. And then there were none, they all died. But then if they all died, who killed them? Well, you have to go to the very, very, very end of the book to figure out what happened. So, and then there were none is one of the darkest novels by Agatha Christie. And this time, the other day when I was rereading it, in the first night I caught myself waking up and thinking about the book. And notice, this was at the time that not a single murder had taken place. Why is it so dark? And it's not, there are no cheap tricks like the floor was squeaking and a door opened. There are no jump scares. The atmosphere itself is dark because the book deals with the nature of evil, and the book deals with the mark that evil leaves to the perpetrator for the rest of their lives. So actually the theme of the book is a line from the Bible. And the line says, "Be sure thy sin will find thee out." So be sure that your sins will eventually catch up with you. But studying evil is also the field of morality and philosophy, which is an area I'm interested in. And it's an area that Ayn Rand was also interested in. Ayn Rand was a big fan of Agatha Christie's novels and of mystery novels in general. And also, Ayn Rand had some very profound insights on evil. So what does the conventional view about evil tell us? The conventional view tells us that if you hurt someone to have some benefit for yourself, then this is selfish. The usual example, we see it all the time in detective novels. There's a rich uncle, let's say, and there's a young person who is struggling. And that person will be the heir. He will inherit the property when the uncle dies. So what do? They murder the uncle. So conventional wisdom is this gives you a benefit. You get the money, the estate, and therefore it's a selfish act. The only reason that you should not do it, the reason why you should not do it is because you might get caught, or because God will punish you, or because there's this categorical imperative, thou shalt not kill. Ayn Rand begged to differ. Rand is known for the most controversial thing she said, which is that selfishness is good. But she was talking about something else, about rational selfishness, which is doing things that are good for your life. And she would say, harming others, stealing, killing, cheating, all these are actually self-destructive. So you think you have a benefit from them, but you don't get a benefit. So they're not only destructive for the person you have harmed, obviously the person who has died is the biggest victim here, but also the perpetrator is going to suffer, even if he never gets caught. Why? Well, for the rest of his life, he needs to look behind his back. For the rest of his life, he's going to live in perpetual terror. For the rest of his life, he will have to sustain a lie. He will have to hope that people around him are stupid. Clever people who are normally a value are now a threat because they might find out what that person did. And most importantly, his self-esteem is destroyed because every time that murderer or that cheater stares himself in the mirror, he sees a killer or a cheater. Or he sees a parasite, someone who has to exploit others in order to achieve something in life. So you are not better off when you commit evil, even if you never get caught. This is Ayn Rand's take. Doing evil is unselfish. And all this plays out brilliantly in Agatha Christie's book. The build-up, the first sections of the book, which is not a long build-up, usually get very easily bored with books, but this I could easily, and you can follow it with it makes sense how she builds up. Why? Because the build-up shows us that although these characters, they have no idea that something ominous is waiting for them, they're just going to enjoy an occasion for a couple of days in an island, there's something bugging them. There's something inside them that is always restless. And this is their consciousness. And they know that something is wrong, always. So this is the part of the book that I found more ominous. The part of the book where nothing happens in terms of mystery or murder or something. In a way, that when the murder starts, it's almost a relief. It's like, okay, now the adventure has started. But the darkest part is before. The darkest part is the ominous atmosphere that I've done something wrong and I know that at some point something's going to happen. Let me give you two examples. One example, actually. There's this woman who has done something bad related to the sea. She has let a child drown. Again, no spoiler, you figure it out very early in the book. And whenever she passes the sea, she feels this agony, this existential. She doesn't even know what it is, but it's something resembling horror. So, on a first level, you would say she benefited from letting that child die. How she benefited doesn't matter. She had some material, she hoped she would have some material gain. But actually, it destroyed her for the rest of her life. We also find out that she lost the man of her life because of what she did, because he saw what type of person she was. So whenever we stare at the sea, we get tranquility, we get the beauty, we get the inner peace. Where someone who has perpetrated evil stares at the sea, she gets the opposite. She gets the agony. And as the story goes on, each one of the people, those of them who have any semblance of consciousness, they face who they are. There's a guy, for example, who let his wife cuckolded him with another guy, and he led, not through direct murder, but he somehow led the other guy to die. And what did he benefit from it? Nothing. He sees himself in the mirror. He sees a cuck. He sees someone who his wife didn't have feelings for. And also he knows that he destroyed someone who was a man of value. So he has now to live with this. So when he hears the voice of judgment, he knows that he is guilty. So everyone deep inside knows that their life is ruined before even the voice of judgment is heard. We see in action that doing evil is something which is unselfish, bad for yourself. The other thing that people who do evil things suffer from is that now other people are a threat to you. So it's very interesting, the interactions among the 10 people when they hear the verdict from the voice. So immediately they see each other with suspicion because, again, their soul is already poisoned. You see a good guy, you see them with envy because you know you're not good. You see a bad guy, you recognize them as, this guy is my equal. So everyone in the house knows that everyone else is guilty. How do they know that? Because they know that they are guilty. So we have also this atmosphere of mutual suspicion, which just adds up to the whole darkness of this theme. And we see Ayn Rand's evaluation of evil playing out also in real life. We know that bad people are actually either dying very early. For example, see the life expectancy of mafia people. It's shockingly low. Or maybe we don't go to that level, like you don't kill people, but people who do, let's say, frauds, they are constantly in fear that they will get caught. It's not unusual for people to give themselves in because they say they cannot live anymore in this perpetual fear. Or think about someone who never gets caught, like Stalin, who he never faced an official court, let's say, for his crimes. He was never purged himself. And yet we know that his life was miserable. He was profoundly unhappy. Profoundly unhappy. And he lived in Parania. So doing evil is something which is unselfish and not selfish. Now, Agatha Christie, when she wrote And Then There Were None, she didn't go to write a philosophical treatise. This is first and foremost a mystery, but I find very interesting this level of reading it when you see the nature of evil and the good insights that objectivism, the philosophy of Ayn Rand, can give you in understanding evil better. So, no spoilers here, but in the comments, I'd be interested to see how you evaluate the climax of the book. How do you evaluate the last chapter? How do you evaluate you know what I'm talking about, if you've read the book. So, was this a just endeavor, or do you think that there was no justice delivered? Anyway, this was And Then There Were None. Thanks for watching.